See? Hi, I'm Leslie Goldberg, and as a professional photographer, whether I'm doing pictures of my cat or nature or a client or even just having fun taking pictures of my children, my grandbaby, I rely on these hands to manipulate all the bells and whistles on my camera. I can't imagine what it would be like if for some reason I lost the use of my hands. But this story is not about me. It's about my friend Teresa Nadeau from Montgomery, Alabama. Teresa is a wonderful artist. Her medium is color pencil, and she draws intricate pictures of wildlife, birds, butterflies, to name a few. And she does these detailed drawings with these hands. Amazing, huh? Well, recently my sister Kathy and I had the opportunity to spend a weekend with Teresa, and we decided to do a documentary on a day in her life and what it's like living with this debilitating disease called scleroderma. Teresa is such an inspiration, and it will just humble you to see how she gets by on a daily basis and yet can go to bed at night and say life is good. This is a story of courage, hope, and faith. Join us in watching this documentary with these hands. Growing up in Montgomery, Alabama, the second born of 6 children, Teresa was always active. In high school, Teresa was involved with the yearbook staff as their art director. She graduated and pursued a degree in elementary education from the University of South Alabama in Mobile. Ironically, Kathy and I met her the first day she moved into the dorms, only to discover she was from our hometown, Montgomery. In addition to later becoming Kathy's roommate, the 3 of us became close friends. When not studying, we played, we went to concerts, Mardi Gras parades, balls, went to the beach, rode horses. You name it, we did it. But as we grew more involved with our careers and families, we began to drift apart. It was that which destroyed Teresa's hands that eventually brought us all back together. But this isn't my story, it's Teresa's. So listen as Teresa takes it from here.
Thank you.
Okay, Teresa.
Leslie.
Tell us about how you first started noticing that there was something wrong with you. How long ago was it? How old were you? And what were your symptoms?
It was in this 1983, and I was 27 years old, and it was in the summer. And at the time, I was teaching school, and school was out, and I had all these things I wanted to do. And one morning during the summer, I woke up and my knees were killing me, those knees. And I kept thinking, I must have done it cleaning the house, or you know how you get dizzy and you run into something and don't pay any attention? And I really couldn't figure out what it was. And I went outside, and we were having a deck built on the deck of our house, and our backyard had sloped down, so the back of the deck was really high, and I walked down into the joists and jumped off the end of it. When I jumped off the end of it, I saw stars. My knees hurt so bad, and from that day on, one thing after another started to hurt. And I found a doctor, a rheumatologist, in October. And he said, he told me later that as soon as I walked into his office and told him my symptoms, he had a good suspicion of what it was. Then when he said scleroderma, I'm sure I said, what? 3 times, and I finally got him to write it on a piece of paper because I never heard the word. And I went back to school and finished that school day, and when I went home that afternoon, I had one of those old Taylor's medical encyclopedias. I looked it up. And of course in there, it said something to the effect of progressively fatal disease. And I just freaked out. He didn't tell me it was fatal. It was
Were you living by yourself at the time?
No, I was married.
You were married.
I'd been married 3 years. And like I said, from then on, it was just downhill. It got to where I couldn't, it hurt to sit down because then my knees would hurt. And then to get back up, I'd have to jump back up. And it progressed. It got into my hands, and my hands would really hurt at night.
Now, okay, so what year was this now?
This is 84, going into 85.
Okay.
One of the weird things that happened is over here on my arm, I had this band. It actually looked like someone had taken a piece of plastic wrap and wrapped it really tight around my arm because I had muscle, and fatty tissue, and it stopped a perfectly straight line. There was about a 4-inch band, and then it started up again, regular skin, and it got really, it looked like it had been burnt, and it itched. In the winter, I would pull my sweater all the way up here so nothing would touch it. It hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt a lot. It was just growing up my chest, and the skin was losing its pigmentation and turning white and hard and glossy like scar tissue. And it just came all the way up.
So at this point, what were you thinking? What was going on? I mean, did you have any idea? Had you researched it?
Well, back then, they knew so little about scleroderma. The only thing that they told me that would happen is that your hands can become claw-like. I mean, that was the whole description of what to expect from scleroderma. So when all these things were happening to me, I had no idea what in the hell was going on, actually. When it came up my neck and got so tight and came up my face, if I would turn like this, back then my fingers were still straight enough I could touch my face, and I would look at them to see if there was blood on my fingers, because it felt like the skin was tearing across my cheeks when I would turn.
So everything felt like it was starting to tighten.
Oh, it was tightening. And I remember I would hold my eyes closed because it felt like my eyeball, when I turned like that, was going to pop. That's how bizarre it was.
Oh my God, that must have been, you must have been scared to death, wondering.
I was scared to death. And the whole physical appearance, I'd look in the mirror and I would just really freak out. And it got to the point where I didn't really look in the mirror for probably 3 to 4 years. I would look in it to brush my hair, I would look at my hair, or I would look in it to do my makeup, but I wouldn't look at my whole face in the mirror. I just couldn't do it. And it was changing, and people's reaction to me, I could see that. So I knew that it was obvious, not just to me, but to everybody, because it was startling.
Something definitely was happening.
I taught 3rd grade, and I didn't have the stamina all day. It hurt to write on the chalkboard. It hurt my arms, and the school I taught with was kind of out in the country, and we were it. I was the everything teacher. So at PE, I was the PE teacher, and I couldn't go out there and throw the dodgeball, and I couldn't play kickball. It hurt. I couldn't do it. And I couldn't sit on the floor with them to do things, and I just ended up, I had to quit.
So you quit.